Morning. I hope you've got yourself a tea or a coffee, because I'm just going to start talking. Yesterday I saw a video by Cal Newport. He has a podcast called Deep Questions, and he also wrote this book, which I've shown off before, Deep Work, which is about focusing in a distracted world. And like for the first kind of 6 months of this year, I talked a lot about creating space in our days, creating space in our studios, creating space in our mind to get to creative work. And in Cal's video, I'll pop it up here, he's talking about the case for quitting social media. He's talking about in the light of recent events in the States that, Twitter and Blue Sky, maybe even TikTok, all blew up with really negative and adverse stuff. And I haven't been on those platforms for a long time, so thankfully I didn't see any of that. But he was saying that a lot of people are getting and understanding the nudge and the prompt that maybe it's time to, save your mental health and get away from it. And if you've watched my videos or kind of downloaded my starter kit and started to make some space, you'll realize that how important that is. And certainly for my own journey, both around mental health, distractedness, I've really enjoyed the space that it's provided me. I'm enjoying getting back to pulling out a pen and a journal. I'm getting back to reading physical books. Now I'd love to do it more than I do at the moment, but I do appreciate going back to that analog physical media. So whether that's putting a record on the turntable or using analog synths that I've actually got to play and twiddle the knobs and enjoy that, that's where I'm going and what I'm enjoying. But when I watched Cal's video, I felt like he argues for the idea of giving up social media, but he doesn't talk in any way about what could replace it and what could fill in the way. And I really felt that for creatives, that's a really key piece for us to know what we're going to put into that social media space hole. Because having put my phone down multiple times, I still find myself wanting to scroll, wanting to find something that's going to be give me a cheap hit, wanting to check and see if somebody's liked or commented on one of my videos, wanting to see how many subscribers I have, because the dopamine treadmill has been hijacked over years of use, and it's not as quick enough as deleting Instagram or Twitter off your phone, because your brain's still looking for that trigger. And I think we weren't made like this. Our dopamine isn't really the pleasure chemical that we've been kind of told it was. Historically and through kind of human evolution, it developed as a motivation tool and a learning tool. And it prompted us to kind of seek the long-term goals rather than just the short-term ones. So it was about what does it take to build shelter or go hunting? What does it take to preserve food, over the winter, and we didn't have all of this new novel stimulus that we have by picking up our phone and scrolling to the next reel or short. And I also say that in the midst of pushing a 30-day challenge, and I've been posting shorts on YouTube, Instagram, and LinkedIn for the past 24 days. And honestly, I've seen so little payback from that. When I put up a long video, people comment, people subscribe, people look for the resources that I have on my website, whether that's a quiz that helps them understand what their finisher type is, or it's a starter kit that helps them to start to create space for their creativity. People do that, but I've had almost nothing other than bots replying, fake lady accounts trying to befriend me on Instagram, and I'm back to the place where I was beforehand, going, I don't really value or understand how short form is going to help me grow my business. But it's been 6 months since I've done it, and I was like, okay, I'm going to try again. And it's just reaffirmed my belief that it's mostly just had me spinning my wheels. But we're nearly there. It's a couple of days left to go. I've shot it all. They're nearly all edited. They're going to get posted anyway, and we'll see what happens. I can report back and let you know. But it definitely has me thinking that the short form, videos are very entertaining, but that's not what we were designed for. Like, we, as humans, we used to live in small communities, so there wasn't new people coming through all the time, and the dopamine was connected to rewards within those societies. So it was within small groups. It was really long-term, thinking that we were working towards. There was no short, sharp shocks. And the problem is, like I said, even when you delete your phone, put your phone in another room. Let's not delete it. Or you delete some apps that you know are distracting you. Your brain is still in a loop of going, where's my phone? And if I can hear it vibrate or buzz in the other room, it's distracting me. Even without, me having to know what it is. My brain's running through all the possibilities of what could possibly have happened. From an email coming in through to, my mother actually calling to say there's an emergency with my mum or my dad. It could be any of those, and my brain can run wild with that sort of distraction. And that just really stops us from being able to connect and focus. Because, like the title of Cal's book, Deep Work, I really believe that the creative work we do, whether you're a writer, a musician, a photographer, a game developer, or any other creative outlet, it takes focus, it takes attention. One, to build the skills and the reps to get good at your craft, but then two, to actually envision, dream up, start, but more importantly, to actually push through the messy middle piece and get something over the line and put it out into the world. It takes real focus and energy, and in a distracted world, and particularly, as grown-ass adults with dogs, kids, houses, cars, bills, mortgages, so many other things that could be pulling us away. And of course there's our screens. Of course, everyone is vying for our attention at every moment through the day, and whatever screen we can see. It's so interesting, even just standing in line at a checkout, or waiting for transportation, just seeing how connected everybody is to their phones. Last night we were looking for a secondary school, which I guess would be a high school in America, and maybe middle school. And we've been checking a few of them out in the local area, and it was really interesting to see a whole bunch of people walking around on a tour, and down the back, a whole bunch of adults on their phones, checking to see who'd sent them a WhatsApp or replying to a message. Now, don't get wrong, I don't know if there was a family emergency or something important going on, but it was a significant portion of the group were taking every opportunity they could between the teachers talking and moving between the classrooms to check in on their phones and update whatever was going on. No, I don't know if they were missing, their favourite team playing football. I mean, maybe that was it. But it was just, I noted how quickly and how distracted everybody got. when they had a moment to pull their phones out of their pockets. And the thing is, you start to see that when you get a little bit less dependent on your device, you start to see how connected everybody is to them. And particularly and the thing that I don't understand is like kind of social situations. If you go out with your partner, if I bring my wife out for dinner, I'm like, can we not have our phones out? And can we actually talk? Like, isn't that why we came here? I'm sorry if this is all sounding a bit like judgmental, and it's just an observation that I've seen. And when I try and put my phone down, I find it frustrating that other people are totally stuck and glued into their phones. And like my wife will tell you, like the amount of times that I'm giving her grief for like double screening when she's either trying to work in front of her laptop or trying to watch something on Netflix. But that's the dynamic that's happening in our house at the moment. That's just the way it is. But ultimately, over the past couple of months, helping people to create some space in their lives is the first step. But what I've been finding with more and more of the conversations I'm having with creatives is they're not actually getting around to finishing what they've started, finishing their projects. So there's a lot of advice about just start, get going, like start with a minimal idea and, just make a start. But I don't know if you're at all like me. I have hundreds of started projects, whether that's music ideas or it's videos that I've started shooting or a ton of photos that I've never edited. I've never even looked through them and culled half of them, and they're just sat on hard drives. But what the conversations I'm starting to have with people is, how do we move that forward? How can we support ourselves and other artists in this process? And that's what's kind of got me thinking. And for people on my mailing list, and also there's a link in the description, I've been asking people to fill in a creative completion type quiz. And I put it together because I realize that there's multiple ways in which people work. Now, you might be really good at envisioning something, getting to it, carving out the time, and even when it gets, heavy and stuck and you start to run out of energy and motivation, you're still able to think about the long-term vision, where you're going to, why it's important, and keep chipping away and working at it. And that puts you probably in like the top percentile of creators getting their work done, because a lot of us have to work through the process of having a sketchbook and dreaming up ideas and seeing what works. And it's because it's often experimental, and it's often in the accidental, the things where things come together like in really beautiful ways that you never dreamt of before, that you go, oh, there's something there. And part of that is we need our ability to be able to curate that and see that. We need to have a vision for it. We need to have a taste, whether that's aesthetic or like what we hear in the music that we're making. And that's really an important place to be at. And you can't get there when you're trying to optimize your time and optimize your energy and effort in something. You need spaciousness. So the space is important. And in fact, I think it's really fundamental. Because I think if we don't have the space and if we're constantly distracted, it's near on impossible to get around and make something creative that's of true value. And then one of the other things that I've realized, not just figuring things out for myself, but also working with other creatives, is that it's important to really consider how we work and what's the best state for us to get in. So if you work well in the morning, being able to focus and use your energy there and carve out time. If that means getting up earlier or shifting things around, that's what it looks like. And the same thing in the evenings. Like, I tend to get a spike in creativity later on in the evening, but often that's around when our kids are trying to get to bed. And then I push that too late, and then I'm up late, I'm not getting enough sleep, and then it has a knock-on effect on the next day. And I think there's a lot of people who are like that as well. So it's about managing our energy. It's not about being efficient, and it's not about productivity. It's not about optimizing things. And I've spoken about this before, but it's just all kind of coming back and building into something new and like a little bit more kind of foundational. And also I think there's like in this AI world, I'm seeing more and more people who are looking for something that's real and authentic, and people are missing out on community. They don't have people to connect to and talk to. And to respond to that, I started a Discord server, and I've started, certainly in September, I've been hosting 2 calls a week where we get on and actually just do some creative work together. So we're just on a call. You can be on screen, off screen. Just love if you'd share where you're at and what you're working on. And then we work together for an hour or 90 minutes or even 2 hours. But it's like kind of having somebody else in a room, and you're both working away and you're kind of staying kind of quiet, and you're trying not to distract each other. But it's a really good reason to not be picking up your phone. Because you're there to work, and you've boxed out this time to do it, and you've put it in your calendar, and you're making it happen. And I think it's been super valuable. Like, I've been working on some music because our band is meeting, and we're going to do a live stream next month. So I need to have some really solid ideas of tracks that we're going to play and start working with. So that's what I've been doing. Like, I'm not turning them into finished tracks because they're part of a collaborative effort within our group. So it's not up to me to write the start, middle, and end and have everything back together, which I love. And that's part of what I've done to support my art, because I know that I love starting. And I know I can get to the end because I have outputted like all of these videos that you see on my channel. I've outputted, photography that I've done before. Like, I know that I can finish projects. But I also know that I'm in a phase where I'm writing for a group. So it needs to be considered, and it needs to be curated. And then also we've kind of built in a feedback loop where we share and hone it, and I get feedback and I come back and I hone it again. So there's a constant process, and cleverly enough, we've actually put a date in the calendar when we're going to stream. So we have put ourselves on the hook. And I think that's a really helpful tip that you can take as well, is put yourself on the hook for not only when you're going to start, but when you're going to finish, and what like good enough could look like. So it's the idea that it doesn't have to be perfect, and also it doesn't have to be a final version. You can put it out there to people you trust in a small group. So that could be a friend, a confidant, a collaborator, somebody in your industry or working in your same medium. Get some feedback from them, a mentor, and just get a bit of an idea of what that's like. It's never going to be finished, unless you're able to start to get the process. Now, I totally get that some artists are happy to work completely by themselves and sequester themselves away. And I also think there's a version of that, like Bon Iver in his cabin in the woods for a year on his own with a guitar and one microphone, and he comes back out with something beautiful. I think that's romanticized and idealized, and I think that not everybody can get to that state. Not everyone can give up all of their life and walk away and sit in a cabin. But you can definitely find half an hour to yourself in the quiet of the morning or the evening, or on your lunch break when everyone's, running around. Just book yourself a little meeting room and have a few minutes to yourself. So, I do think there's ways to do it. And honestly, the compounding effect of doing that regularly every week, every day is huge. Like it really adds up quickly. So there's a lot of different things you can do and start to figure out and move forward. And then, like I said, around the community piece, that's why we set up a Discord server. It's free. There's a link in the description. And on there, we're sharing our work. So anytime I've been doing one of our creative momentum calls, whenever I get to that place of a finished piece of work, I'll export it and I'll post it up there for people to see the progress and the work that's happening. So come and join us. There's artists and creators from all over the world are getting involved. It's still small and it's growing, but it is a way in which we can support each other and share our work. So there's a couple of pieces of music up there. There's a couple of videos of game devs who've put stuff up there. So feel free to jump in, introduce yourself, say where you're from and what you're working on. But also, if you have space and you're struggling to kind of work through, why am I finishing my work? Then fill in the quiz, the Creative Completer quiz. There's a link down below and in the pinned comment. And honestly, it's 10 questions, multi-choice. It'll take you 60 seconds to 2 minutes to fill in, and I will respond with a personalized video with your results and 2 or 3 tips that will help you to start to gain traction and momentum and to move forward. And that'll help you to start thinking through the process. And I think that's all I've got for today. YouTube will definitely recommend another video for you here. I'll probably try and make it about finishing a project. So if there's some of this video that's landed for you and you feel like it's helpful, give that a watch. And until then, go away, make some space for your creativity, but work on finishing your projects too. And until then, stay creative. Thanks.